Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life with your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business. For an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
How do I pause that? Does this stick on me for a minute? Is your internet cutting out? It's with you. I got a private chat in the middle of the opener. Why is it cutting out? It's your internet. It's from the fires out there in Tucson.
Well, it's the wildfires. I just want to send a message out to all of the firefighters and the wildfire guys who've come in literally from all over the world to help us with what's called the Bighorn Fire. If we have any technical glitches today, I'm going to attribute it to the fact that all the cell towers up in the mountains, not 10 miles from here, are literally being threatened. I hope everyone is safe. And I want to thank all the firefighters for all the.
I'm sure you want to thank the firefighters.
Oh, I want to thank the firefighters.
Would you like them to sign your calendar?
I want them to sign my calendar. I want them to let me cook for them.
Listen, today's show, I don't even know what to say because we have got a winner chicken dinner on the show. Mm-hmm. I met this lady probably 5 or 6 years ago, and she was like a fireball. I literally met her for like 1 second and never forgot her. Right? Yeah. And normally I didn't want anything from her. Normally I'll meet people and then I'll just want to get them for advertising, right? This one, I was like, this lady is a fireball. Everybody that works for her loves her. Like, I've never seen anything like it. They're like, oh, you got to talk to Gail. I would get sometimes, I don't even remember the last press release I got, but I remember like, oh, you need to talk to Gail. So she's this Gail Becker, right? Completely available. Right? Like, she is not hiding behind any corporate veils. Like, her company is so big, I'm walking in and I'm checking things out in Smart and Final, and there's a whole, literally an entire frozen food display rack of her stuff. I was in shock. But then I wasn't, because because that's who she is.
She's authentic.
Right?
She's innovative. She's fearless. She's
Let me show you a picture.
She's generous. You want to talk about corporate philanthropy, strategic philanthropy. You want to talk about somebody who's doing everything right. You want to talk about somebody who knows what the mission is and is so purposefully, powerfully, and positively driven to accomplish this. She is visionary. And she's here with us today. And again, her company, it's like one of these refreshing glimpses into the future, because the future of some consumer products, goods, and branded goods can be authentic and healthy and thoughtful and intentional and everything about what we're.
But more importantly, I should have won a tie and maybe a hat for Gail. But look, what I want you to notice when we're getting her on, don't say anything about it. Look at the artwork behind her. It's amazing, right? She's got beautiful artwork behind her. And I wonder if it's positioned there just for the camera. It's that good. Should we bring her on?
Listen.
Why don't you announce the name of the company? Because that would, people are like, who's Gail?
We're really proud to have these opportunities. You know, this show is about trying to inspire everybody in every dimension of the food and beverage world to be re-inspired. We want to ignite the spark that happened, that got you into this business to start with. This moment in time is that place and time from which we're all going to reinvent the future of everything we do, the culture, to the cuisine, to the hospitality, to every industry. But in particular, we are called upon to reimagine what it will be. The hospitality industry, the food industry, we're thinking about nutrition and health, no touch, low touch. I mean, how do you, in a high touch industry like the hospitality industry, reinvent and reimagine the world in a very no touch, low touch way? We're all going to take a role in this, but it's going to require that we're all really inspired. So we're reaching out to our friends in the business who are going to help us inspire that spark to really happen brightly for you in
Are you talking to
whatever
me? Are you talking to me, or you're breaking the fourth wall? I'm getting confused when you go.
I'm doing both.
Okay, because when you go on those rants, I want to fall asleep, but I'm not sure if you're talking to me or what's going on. I get confused. Let's bring
my passion and my energy
the queen
would
cauliflower
excite
power.
you, not
bring the
blow
queen
you
of
into sleep.
cauliflower power. It's so hard to say. Can
Cauliflower.
you say it 3 times fast?
Cauliflower, cauliflower, cauliflower.
And you know what's weird is I've always loved cauliflower, right? Like I love that. I love that.
Cauliflower is what's broken through the fourth wall. The founder and CEO of Cauliflower.
Look at this. Wait, before we start, look who's saying hello. Ray Leonard Jr. Huh? We got some big time guy, right? This guy is a powerhouse. One of my closest friends. I went to high school with him. He's a little bit younger than me, right?
I love that.
His dad you love, of course, Ray Leonard, right? Sugar Ray. But this guy, he will stand in front of thousands of people and motivate them.
Yep.
Like sometimes I don't even want to sit and talk to him when he comes to Vegas because I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to be motivated. Like he's that good, right? Like he's that good. And it's got nothing to do with his dad. That's the craziest part. He's just that good.
But that's his gift and that's how he's sharing. Yeah. So the founder and CEO of Cauliflower Foods, which is now coast to coast, is here with us today, not only to share some information about the company. If you haven't discovered it yet, we totally want to turn you on to it. But she's making an announcement about some really major initiatives and generosity that they're undertaking that we are very proud to be able to share. She joins us now. Gail Becker, welcome to Food and Beverage Magazine Live.
Thank you so much for having me. If I'm 3 shades of red, it's because I listened to all of the nice things you guys had to say. So that was very thoughtful. Thank you. It's really nice to be here. And for the record, that picture I've had for 20 years and it is called, but it's probably never been more relevant. And the picture is called Patchwork America.
Oh, wow.
And boy, never has it been so relevant. Nice.
See, and I picked that out, Jennifer, because I have the eye for luxury products. It's not just my wife and the Gucci; it's me.
That's right.
Hey, Gail, let's tell everybody a little bit about your life in the world of food and how you came to be a food entrepreneur. When did you fall in love with food, and how did you get inspired?
You know, what a great question. I don't always get asked that. My love of food and, I think value of food probably started when I was very young. My parents are both Holocaust survivors. And because of everything that they went through in life, food was always, because they went hungry for so long growing up, food was always a very important part of our lives. Even if we couldn't afford other things, they would always spend whatever it took to put the best food on the table. We would go without other things, but never without food. But we also never wasted food. And so it was always just something that had a very high value. When my grandfather came to this country, he was a dairy farmer. So most people don't know this, but I actually grew up on a dairy farm. In Orange County, California. Wow. And it all used to be farmland. And so my sisters and I each had a pet cow, and we would milk it when it needed to be milked, and we would take care of it when it was sick, and I would go to the cattle auctions. And so
like a good little Jewish girl.
I always grew up in this realm of food. But I never in a million years ever thought that I would work in it. And it's interesting. So I used to watch shows like yours or read any kind of food related magazine for fun. So after I did my job, I came from corporate America. I worked in news. I worked in government. I did all kinds of things. And if I ever had any spare time, I would pick up a food-related magazine and just start glancing. What happened was my father passed away, and I decided that I wanted to make a significant change in my life. I wanted to do something more meaningful. And, I didn't invent cauliflower crust pizza. There were 569,000 recipes. when I happened to look one day. I'm the mom of 2 boys with celiac disease, so I always was looking for ways to, give them more nutritious options, because what the industry was putting in gluten-free food was not great. And I stumbled across cauliflower crust pizza. I made it one time, 90 minutes. They asked if I was going to make it again, and I said, there is no way, because it took 90 minutes to make a pizza crust after I got home from a full day of work. But I said, I'll find it for you. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find it. And so I did what anyone else would do. I left my job in corporate America and started a company called CAULIPOWER. Totally logical.
Gail, one of the things that you were talking about, reading Food for Fun, you're in Los Angeles while this is happening. Mm-hmm. People don't understand what a wonderfully rich food culture California has had for some time.
Yeah.
People credit Jeremiah Tower, the Restaurant Stars, Chez Panisse, Alice Waters, and some events that took place in the 1970s for the sort of birth of American regional cuisine and the awareness that James Beard talked about, that the American culture of cuisine was richer than people gave it credit for. We had before always turned to Europe. But in particular, so much of what all of us have from coast to coast have today comes from the influence of California. Can you talk a little bit about where you are and how that's come to be such a powerfully influential culinary place, especially in the last 25 years?
What an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, the food scene in LA, in particular, I think is so rich in its diversity. So yes, we have amazing, very well-known and well-established restaurants here, but we have so many fantastic farm stands or little holes in the wall that have the best reputations and lines down the street. And those are the ones that
Name them, Gail, name them.
Okay, I'll name one of my favorite places in Los Angeles, which is at the LA Farmers Market, the original LA Farmers Market, which is now attached to the Grove. And it's a little stand called Banana Leaf. And it's this wonderful fusion of Indonesian and Singaporean and Indian food. Literally, I could eat there every single night of the week, except for cauliflower, of course. And it's just fantastic. And I love that whole farmers market.
I go there Gail, I go there so much that when I go into the valet over at the Grove, Coco, the valet guy, knows me at this point. Okay. Michael, how's Vegas? How's this? We'll keep your car up front.
I do, Michael, but yeah.
I get the shawarmas from there, from this farmers market, right?
Yeah, it's great. The whole thing. I love all the smells mixing together. I love all the different people mixing together. Really, it's interesting. I never, even though I've always placed this incredibly high value on food because of how I was raised, I never really considered myself a foodie. To me, it was always about the meal. It was never about the food. It was about the meal experience, about sitting around.
The customs, the connection.
The customs, the fact that even though we could disagree about so many things, if you plot some food down on the table and you all, take a bit and share from the same plate, think of all the problems in the world that we can solve. I always call myself a mealist because I like real food. I like real meals. I've never been one for very fancy creations. I like very sort of real, get your hands dirty kind of food. My theory about food is you're the type of cook that correlates to the type of hair you have. So obviously you can see I have a lot of curly hair, and the way I cook is very messy and not perfect, and I don't really follow recipes, and it's big pots of God knows what. But
that's how I cook, and I wonder if that's from our Eastern European heritage, right? Because because even my wife's Hawaiian, so there's all these recipes, but right. everyone's like, dude, you just throw stuff in. Aren't you going to measure anything? Like I'll whip up, whether it's a brisket or whether it's stuffed cabbage or, all of our things, right?
Yeah, right.
And then we do our little secrets, like I'll throw a ginger snap in, something fun.
Yeah.
But I never use a recipe, right? Yeah. Like that's why I love Canner's Deli. I love Canner's. That's
the best. Yeah.
And then a little hole in the wall in Orange County, it's called the Orange Inn in Laguna. Are you familiar with that?
I'm gonna have to go there. I don't know. Wow. I get to meet you guys and I get tips. I love it.
But then the two places I have to chime in with, please, the Dupars in Studio City.
It's closed.
Yeah, it's now closed. It is now, unfortunately, a Sephora, but I love Dupars. Yeah.
That tradition, to me, that was what I always thought of as that sort of quintessential LA experience. And then Felipe's original with the hot mustard. Yeah. I could put hot mustard on anything.
Let me give you a news flash on Dupars really quick. Ready for the Dupars news flash?
Yeah.
The guy that owns Dupar, right? He was on the cover of my magazine once. He actually bought it from the family, right?
Oh, interesting.
But he was, I forgot, Biff. His name is Biff. And he was the Biff, and he was the character from Back to the Future. They named it after him. Dupars, but he also pulled Hamburger Hamlet out from the family when they were having trouble.
Uh-huh.
That's right. So and no one knows, but this guy's like royalty of restaurants.
That's LA royalty for sure. Yeah.
But nobody even knows the guy. They have Dupars here in Vegas. That was a great one. Now it's a Sephora, which stinks.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you guys. I want to talk about how some of the reputation that California has had about cuisine has been, it's a little bit healthier, it's a little bit more imaginative, and it absolutely positively stands to reason that if somebody were going to start making pizza crusts out of cauliflower and reimagining all the ways you could take this wonderful vegetable that gives you a range of flavors and textures depending on what you do with it, and imagining how you could turn it into any number of our favorite foods, it stands to reason that would come from California. And I want to turn to Gail Becker, our guest, who's the CEO and founder of CAULIPOWER, and talk a little bit about how this magical vegetable fell into her life.
Yeah, so the magical vegetable, which I love that you say that because I actually say that too. It has brought a lot of magic to my life. I just discovered it online. There were hundreds of thousands of recipes. I made it. It was okay. And it was really born out of a frustration of seeing what the industry was putting into gluten-free foods because of my sons. And when I started to look for ready-made products that were out there, I couldn't find any. And to me, look, I've been a working mom for as long as I can remember. And I was almost kind of insulted that people thought I had 90 minutes to make a pizza crust. Like, who has that time? So to me, the CAULIPOWER is a company that's as much about better for you food as it is about convenient. Because as wonderful and as healthy as food can be, if it's not convenient, people aren't going to eat it. What I think is so interesting, just to touch on what you said about a company like CAULIPOWER being born in California, I think you're right in many ways, and it's certainly, we do have a history and a trend of healthier eating here. But what I love about CAULIPOWER and what was really important to me in starting this company is this notion about making nutrition accessible to all. And it was really important to me that this didn't end up as a product that was very popular on both coasts. And in fact, I can tell you that, we started in Whole Foods. We started in 30 Whole Food stores. I'm sorry?
That's a nice start.
Yeah, in 30 Whole Food stores in Southern California.
Because there was a time not that long ago when Whole Foods was committed to featuring local companies.
Exactly. Well, it still does. And by the way, if you have any, listeners who are interested in starting their own food company, there's this wonderful program that you can pitch your product to your local region, the region that you live in. I happen to live in Southern California, so I pitched the SoPac region, and they brought CAULIPOWER into 30 stores. But what is interesting and where I was going is, we went national in Walmart. So we launched in February of 2017 in those 30 Whole Food stores. We went national into Walmart in October of that year.
Wow.
And what I was going to say is, one of the retailers that brought us on probably sooner than anyone was this retailer I met at Expo West. They introduced themselves, and they're about a 30 chain retailer in Louisiana. And they said, you know what, these are really interesting. I'm gonna bring these. I'm gonna bring these in about 10 stores. See what happens. He brought in 2 SKUs. They sold out in 2 days.
Wow.
And then they brought him into 50, I think they had 55 stores. And then they sold out there. And to me, the lesson is that people everywhere want access to better food without sacrifice, to really that intersection between taste and convenience and health. And people shouldn't have to choose anymore. And you certainly shouldn't have to choose just based on where you live. And so I'm really proud that, CAULIPOWER is really does well in, every geography, not just on the coast.
Gail, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm really interested. When you go into a chain like that and you sell out in 2 days, what kinds of things did you do on the ground to make yourself break through the clutter of a very busy freezer section environment in most grocery stores? How is it that the customer found you so quickly?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. And it's funny. I think part of the answer, I hate to say it, is that ignorance is bliss. I didn't know any better. You're right. The freezer section is the most competitive part of the grocery store, but I had no way of knowing that because I'd never worked in food. So, but what happened is that consumers discovered us. So I didn't know much about food, but I did know a little bit about marketing. That was a lot of my background. And so I knew how to get the word out about CAULIPOWER. And that's ostensibly what happened. We got the word out. We were an earned brand. People became aware of us through earned media, through social media.
Let's just define that. I'm sorry to stop you, but let's break this down for some people that haven't been in this yet, because I want people who are listening to be inspired by your story. And when we talk about things like earned media, it's a really very simple concept, but it's not always easy to accomplish. And we've got social media in the last few years that we didn't have before. So you've got a lot of factors coming together to make this all possible. Let's just tell everybody, what do you mean by earned media?
Sure, I will do that. And I as part of that, I will also say the 3 reasons why I think CAULIPOWER found some early success. So the first one, to your point, is our marketing. So we did a couple of things. We had the advantage of being first to market. And when you're first to market, there's a lot of news value in that, right? And so we leveraged that. We put out a lot of press releases, we called a lot of media, and we raised awareness to the fact that people don't have to spend 90 minutes making a pizza crust anymore. Now the first available frozen cauliflower crust is now available. So we spent a lot of time and efforts in sort of honing those marketing messages. And we did that a lot on social media. Again, to any potential, to any budding entrepreneur out there in the food space, I would say, the great thing is food is the great equalizer. We all have a relationship with food. You don't have to be an expert of food to work in CPG. I am a perfect example. But you go in with what you know. Some people know finance, and that's great. Some people, like me, know marketing, and that's great. Some people are experts in food, and that's great too. Whatever you do, know what you do and know what you do well, and be smart enough and confident enough to hire people around you that can fill in the gap. So for me, I didn't know anything about food, but I knew enough to hire people who did. And I hired a lot of people who had a lot of expertise and years of building brands in retail. And that's what we did.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got to that place, because people are saying, wait a sec, you started in February and in October, you're shipping. were you in a garage in Orange County, cranking out pizzas on a little, hand crank cauliflower pizza wheel? I want people to understand that when you go into the grocery stores and you look for CAULIPOWER, you're going to find remarkably sophisticated packaging design, and it does jump out as being different. Yeah. I don't know whether that was intentional or quasi-intentional or just an expression of how you felt you wanted to enter the market. Yeah. But inside has to be a product that you had to produce at a very high level with really high quality, with irresistible flavor, and you had to do it in a repeatable, scalable way. How did you become a manufacturer, or how did you become the brand that you are today?
Jennifer, you are asking really good questions today.
Very good.
I don't know if you feel threatened. Do you feel threatened by Gail right now? Is that what's happening? Because you're really getting...
We feel a sisterhood is what we feel.
Oh my God, can I tell you, I have to tell you, I am so fangirl gushing that we have Gail on with us today. You don't know what kind of hopefulness she represents, not only to me, but to, I'm going to guess, millions.
Forget about all that. I want to go into LA and I want to taste her kugel. Once she makes a kugel, then I'll know that she's a...
One. I don't. My mother's turning over in her grave. I deny. But no, you do ask really, really good questions. And, when I look, there are lots of companies that lots of people who make a phenomenal product, and then they make it, they share it with their friends, they sell it at local farmers markets, and then they go up from there and they sell it to a small neighborhood retailer. Those are great stories. That is not the CAULIPOWER story. The CAULIPOWER story is that I spent a lot of time in corporate America being very unhappy. And I realized that if I was going to make a change, I needed to do it in a big way. So I was like all in. So when I decided to jump, and my jump was in May of 2016, because I had to build the company, obviously, before we launched, I hired consultants that knew the food business to help me. And there's lots of wonderful consultants out there who, that's the great thing about this country. You can hire anyone to teach you about anything. And they taught me about manufacturing, which I didn't know, obviously. And I was like a sponge, and I still am. I learn something new every day. I've learned 30 different things just by talking to you guys. So, but I did know enough that I needed the help. And I think a lot of times entrepreneurs, they, when you find a company, you feel like you have to know everything because it's your company.
But that's sometimes their downfall, Gail, right?
Exactly.
Even when, in my book, which I'll get you a copy.
Please.
But even in my book, it's coming out the 30th of this month. The main thing I said, the main thing to be successful in a restaurant is to lose your ego. Ask for help.
Exactly.
And people won't, I literally, and Jennifer, I've known for 20 years. I know she doesn't look like she's that old, but I've known her for 20 years. She has watched me ask for help from the biggest names in the business. And you know what? I've never been embarrassed.
No.
I've never been embarrassed. And now I have 12 million readers a month. Exactly. So what does that mean?
Well, and to that point, and the point you were making too, Jennifer, is there's so many people who want to help you. There's so many people who are cheering on the little guy. I mean, even the retailers would yeah, we really want you to, hey, you know what, don't do that, do this instead, because some people, people don't always want the Goliath to win. They're cheering for the David. And I love that. And I didn't know, because, when you're trying to enter a space filled with these multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations, and here comes this woman like, hey, I have this pizza. It's kind of crazy. They look at you sort of funny. But it's the power of the consumer and the power of making a good product. In real estate, it's location, location, location. In packaged food, it's product, and taste. And if the taste isn't there, all the best marketing, all the best planning doesn't mean anything.
You know what, Michael, Gail, I realized part of the reason I'm so excited to talk to you. There was a woman named Margaret Rudkin. And most people don't know Margaret Rudkin, but she was a mother who had a son with an allergy. And her son needed a special kind of bread. So she made a special kind of bread after seeing dozens of doctors. This is back in the 1920s and 30s.
Wow.
She went everywhere looking for a solution for her son while her husband took the train into town, into Wall Street, and was making money in the stock market. Margaret Rudkin stayed behind on their farm in Connecticut. The name of that farm was Pepperidge Farm.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I just got the chills.
Margaret Rudkin did the same exact thing almost 100 years ago that you're doing today.
Wow.
In speaking to you today, I am speaking to my generation's Margaret Rudkin.
Love that.
What you have created inspires me the same way the Margaret Rudkin story.
Did she have a nickname, Margaret Rudkin? Because that's a lot of syllables.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, she made these loaves of bread. She took some to the doctor and said, I'm making this. The doctor said, your son.
What was the first Pepperidge Farm bread?
The mother's with the doctor, and the doctor saying to the mother, what did you do? Your son is better.
Yeah.
I made him this bread.
I love that.
He said, can you bring me some? She made loaves for the doctor.
I love that.
They couldn't keep it up.
Amazing story.
They made more loaves. She sent them on the train with the husband to other doctors in New York City.
And
that is how Pepperidge Farm was born.
That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary.
Part of what I see in any time and place is this notion that there is always opportunity, even in the darkest moments, for the brightest lights, no matter how small they are, to be seen and heard by the people who are intended to make them become the big thing that they're supposed to be for everybody's benefit. This is what I see when I see the CAULIPOWER story. This is why I was so personally excited to talk to you and have you on the show. Yeah, I'm curious about how you found your production company that's, I'm going to assume, co-packing for you. I want to know more about the partners that were so excited to bring you in. Because it doesn't always go like this for people when they start a company. Some people go to fancy food show 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 times before they find what's called either a broker or a distributor to take their product and then sell it in.
But Jen, it could always go that way. People quit. People quit. That's the problem. And believe me, everything.
They do the wrong thing.
Well, no, they end up quitting even if they do the right thing. Right? Gail, have you seen, even there's a right thing and they're just like, I just can't take it anymore. I mean, it's a great product, but I'm just done.
There are many days that I've had that. There are
well, you're not a quitter, Gail.
No, but there's more to it.
You're a winner, and winners never quit.
Like, I want to focus on one thing that Gail said. She said one of the most important things is to be first to market. And she says that confidently because she knows how true that is. But she didn't explain what the cost was for being first to market and how many no's she had to endure from people who said, that's not in the market. That's not what we have. That's not what we do. Talk a little bit about the cost of being first to market.
Yeah, it's another great question, actually. Yeah, I mean, look, there were a lot of no's. To be honest with you, there were even a lot of no's when I looked for a co-manufacturer to make it. Like, you want to do what? You want to make a pizza out of cauliflower? Like, lady, you're crazy. And I had a lot of people turn me down. And I had a lot of people try to charge me a lot of money because they didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And I had a lot of people who had zero capacity to waste on a crazy idea. So I have been told no a lot. I've also been told no by retailers early on who didn't want to take a bet. They wanted to see how it panned out. I can tell you there is a very large retailer today who was my very first no, very early on. And today they're one of our largest customers. So, you have to be relentless. You have to be confident, and you have to bet on yourself. I look,
Because Gail, everyone else is betting against you. If you don't bet on yourself, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, and also if you don't, how can you ever expect anyone else to?
Right.
And I think, it's it's an incredibly challenging thing to be an entrepreneur. I'm obviously not a young entrepreneur. I'm an older entrepreneur. I've had 7 careers, and who knows, I may have 7 more ahead of me. But I think having that experience in business and things having nothing to do with the food industry, quite frankly, has helped me. And I think like your example of the amazing woman who started Pepperidge Farms, I mean, it's never too late, right? It's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to do what you love. I always loved food. Who ever knew that I would end up working in food every day? It's like a privilege waking up and realizing that it's not a dream.
Have you sold your millionth pizza yet?
Yes.
So,
I mean, duh, Jennifer, would we have her on the show if she hadn't?
Yes, absolutely.
Do your homework.
Do you keep track? Do you have a number like they do on one of the fast food signs?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Have you made your billionth pizza yet?
No. We obviously keep track of sales is what we keep track of. And
the reason I ask is we want to, celebrate this moment with you because your success has very quickly allowed you to imagine the kind of impactfulness you can have on the culture and community that has helped to make this happen. And I wanted to turn this over to you, not so much with a question as with a forum for making an announcement about what you are choosing to do in a strategic philanthropy kind of way.
Well, that's really generous of you. Thank you. So, since the very beginning, CAULIPOWER has always given a percentage of sales to build teaching gardens in underserved schools across the country in partnership with the American Heart Association through their teaching garden program. Since we sold our very first pizza, a percentage of sales has always gone to do that. What happened recently is the schools are closed. And the kids that are normally there and able to participate in the program where they learn about food and grow the food and learn how to cook with the food once it's grown and harvested and all of that, they don't get to do that anymore. They don't get to bring the food home anymore. In fact, they also don't get the lunches. And these families are really suffering. So through our relationship with the American Heart Association, we've been able to pivot. And we recently announced that CAULIPOWER would make a $1 million donation to the Teaching Garden program over 3 years, in collaboration with the American Heart Association. And most recently, we pivoted so that money that was to go to the teaching gardens is now being reallocated to give out food, fresh produce, oranges, grapes, oranges, carrots, eggs, bought from local farmers who are also suffering. So, because obviously it's hard for them to get food where it needs to be. So we're purchasing the food from local farmers, and then we're giving it out in 4 cities over 8 weeks, about 100,000 meals. That's in Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, and in Nashville, in Memphis.
Wow.
And so, so it's, and I've participated and the whole staff has participated in several of these days where we hand out the food to people. And I have to say, there's been many great days at CAULIPOWER, and we do celebrate our milestones and our sales, but few things are actually more important to us or more heartwarming or more, empowering to me than to be able to give this money and feed families when they need it most.
And tying back to your own family's history with hunger and deprivation, it comes from the most earnest, honest place. First of all, on behalf of every family whose generosity who's impacted by your generosity, I have to say thank you.
Oh.
For the leadership you're evidencing for our industry, I say thank you.
Yeah.
And for the personal inspiration that this is going to give to me and to thousands of people, I say thank you. What an extraordinary gift and what an amazing program at a time when we've got a lot of hungry kids, sadly, because there are 45 million Americans out of work. The hospitality industry is one of the biggest industries in the country, and there are 15 million people who are working in our industry. Many of them are impacted by closed restaurants and the COVID crisis. And across the board, there are just way too many hungry kids, and this is going to be a huge impact. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really a privilege to be able to do so. And it's nice, it's nice to be able to give healthy food and fresh produce. I was at one of the days on Wednesday, and this young girl, she took her box and she said, "I'm so excited I get to make a salad." And I was just, oh my goodness, of course. And it's a privilege to be able to do this, really.
Gail, one of the things that I get to do, and I have the privilege of doing in my own life, is I volunteer with an organization called Powwow. It's the Produce on Wheels Without Waste program that's done by a not-for-profit group called Borderlands. And Borderlands Produce is based in Nogales, Arizona, where much of the produce that comes into this part of the country, literally billions with a B volumes of produce come through, and produce that would otherwise be headed for a landfill is taken and distributed in a dozen or more sites around the state to people who, for either $12, they can get 70 pounds of fresh fruit and vegetables and produce. But sometimes people need help and recipes. We try and work with them on that. But there are programs like this, and it's been long lines since the COVID crisis started, because the need is just unbelievably broad and it's everywhere. And I have to say, thank you so much for all the things that you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about your company's sort of singular love affair with a single vegetable. Are you guys doing other things besides pizza crusts these days?
Yes, absolutely. So pizza crusts are our hero product. I mean, all of our pizzas, we have pizza crusts. We also have topped pizzas, obviously, and we have many different flavors and SKUs, and we just introduced some new flavors coming out as well. But we also have other products. We have tortillas. Cauliflower tortillas. We also have sweet potato toasts, which are sliced sweet potatoes and used as a bread replacement. They're very popular now. For
somebody say sweet potato toast.
Yeah, our product is called sweet potato toast, but they're sliced sweet potato, and you use it like again, it's another meal hack. Everything we do are meal hacks that we didn't create, that everybody else created. We have our very popular chicken tenders, which are the best part of the chicken, coated in cauliflower and then baked, not fried, that leaving it as the healthiest chicken tender ever made. And that was also born from a meal hack. That was born by watching people take raw chicken tenders, coating it in everything from cereal to tortilla chips, and then air frying it. And we thought, well, why not make it easier? Why not do it for them? And so that's our very popular chicken tender product. And we also are just launching now, got a little delayed because of COVID, but these riced cauliflower cups in recyclable, microwavable cups, and all these amazing flavors that have never been done before. Beautiful labels, ranges from 100 to 160 calories for a whole cup. Wow. And they're great.
I wonder if they're going to have, Jennifer, I wonder if they're going to have cilantro lime.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but
no, I don't know. Cilantro lime, wasn't somebody talking about that, Jennifer, a few shows ago? Cilantro lime rice, very big.
Oh, I don't know. Well,
now that he mentions it, somebody did talk about cilantro.
Funny.
I want to talk. Let's talk about delicious.
Okay.
One of my favorite food words is the word irresistible. And irresistible is one of those funny things that if you are in the food business and you make something, I charge you to make sure that what you make doesn't just stop here at almost irresistible, that you go until you hit the mark of irresistible.
Right.
Clearly done that in the CAULIPOWER brand. Talk a little bit about delicious and irresistible. If somebody didn't know your pizzas were made with cauliflower, would they be able to tell, or is it just a darn good slice of pizza?
You know what? It's fascinating. I would say there are two types of people. Those that taste it and say, "Oh my God, this tastes like cauliflower. It's so good." And then other people that say, "Oh my God, I don't taste the cauliflower. It's so good." So it really depends. But it's a very friendly taste of cauliflower. It's not an overpowering one. Look, I knew I left a very comfortable job knowing that I wanted to make an impact somehow. I also knew that I wouldn't be able to make an impact if we weren't going to have kids eat this product.
Right.
And so it had to pass the kid test, starting with my own kids. And so, if it's not something that kids it doesn't matter how great something is for you, how nutritiously beneficial something is for you. If it doesn't taste good, nobody's going to eat it. And so, taste and deliciousness and irresistibility is something that is always top of mind for us.
What is it about the cauliflower versus almost any other vegetable that lends itself to this kind of adaptive new product invention?
I think it's a couple things. One, to your point, it's incredibly malleable, right? It can become anything you want it to be. You can chop it, you can grind it, you can puree it, you can do anything. And thus, because it's so malleable, it can take on the flavor of whatever you add to it. So you can have the cauliflower taste if you want, or you can add all these wonderful spices and ingredients like our cauliflower rice, and you get something entirely different. I think another benefit to it, and one of the reasons why it's caught on, is obviously the nutritional value, but also the fact, quite simply, that it's white. Nobody wants to eat a green pizza. And so you're not really, you don't have the barriers to get over of green pizza or orange pizza or whatever. It's something that's very familiar, and it's something that is very comfortable and that kids will react very well to. So I think it's a combination of all those factors.
Are you going to take the cauliflower on a tour around the world of cuisine and highlight some of the hero foods from different cultures in cauliflower form, like
good question.
And
dumplings
and ramens. And where are we going to go next with cauliflower?
Like a road show.
Yeah, road show. It's a really interesting idea. I will tell you, experience and road shows and all those things are super challenging right now. But in our cauliflower rice, it's really our first product that has brought in the flavors of different parts of the world. We have a Baja flavor, we have a sesame citrus flavor, and we have a curry flavor. So that's sort of our nod so far to throwing in different flavors that is different from what we've done. But probably primarily our products are canvases. Our pizzas are canvases for you to personalize and add either healthy or unhealthy. We had someone make a cheeseburger pizza that is very popular. Who knew?
That could be healthy a little bit.
Yeah,
Keto-esque.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We also have and our tortillas are wonderful canvases to add whatever that you want. Our sweet potatoes, people make them sweet, people make them savory. So for the most part, our food is a canvas to become whatever you want it to be. But now we've started experimenting with more flavors from around the world.
I'm blown away. I'm so honored and excited to have this conversation with you. I can't thank you enough for being so generous with your time, with your philanthropy, the difference that you're making for kids. I do a lot of work with the Boys and Girls Clubs, and when schools close or when schools cut back, kids go hungry, and it's sometimes the places where we have to go to make sure our kids get something that they need, and not just some junk, but something really meaningful, some nutritious, delicious food that they will eat, that they will enjoy. And most importantly, that the food is respectful of the child or the eater in every realm. And one of the things that we didn't really get a chance to talk about yet, but that I've seen in everything that I've seen about CAULIPOWER, is the degree of respect inherent and intrinsic in everything that you're doing. Would you talk a little bit about that before we say goodbye?
Yeah, look.
Well, let me over question this, like I am.
Yeah, please.
Because if you walk into a supermarket and you walk into the frozen food section, it is the section of the grocery store that has taken the biggest hits and complaints from food people who say it's too over processed, it's too salty, it's where the bad stuff is. And literally, it was the place that was most ripe for reinvention. And so we haven't really culturally gone all the way to start imagining that healthier is already in our freezer sections, but it is. And so not only were the products that were there before the kind of addictive things that made us fat and didn't make us feel good, but they didn't necessarily respect our health and our bodies.
Well, they made us fat and feel good, Jen. Jen, they made us fat and feel good. What are you saying?
What?
You don't feel good afterward, but you feel good eating that. I can tell you that.
Frozen pizza bagels. Who feels good after eating a frozen pizza bagel?
Who doesn't feel good after eating a frozen pizza bagel? What the heck?
Moderation is good. Yes, I understand your point, and it's very beautifully articulated. So thank you. And to your point, the freezer. I always say the freezer aisle's on fire. There's never been more interest, more growth, and more sales in the frozen category than there is in this moment in time. Millennials love frozen. Why? Because of the price, because it's a lot healthier than it used to be, and because of sustainability and lack of waste. But the way that I describe it, to answer your question, is I think what happened over the years is there was a lot of people in the industry who entered the frozen section who bet against the consumer. And they bet against the consumer that they wouldn't know the difference. And at CAULIPOWER, we bet on the consumer. We absolutely believe that they will know the difference. We bet on them knowing the difference. We want them to know the difference. And those that do end up being our customers.
And they get rewarded for it.
And they get rewarded for it. And I think that's where the respect comes from. And we have to be respectful, because we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for all the people who came up with the idea for a cauliflower crust pizza, or using sweet potato as a piece of bread instead of a piece of bread, or we're coating chicken and all of these things. That was the ideas of our consumers. So how else would we reward them but by offering the finest choice of food without having to sacrifice taste or health or convenience?
In my own life, I have a son who I love cooking for.
Oh,
and yeah. I always mix in cauliflower in the mashed potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Since he was a baby.
That was it.
And I wanted to find out, are you guys playing around at all with both cauliflower in a hash brown formula, or sweet potatoes in a non-traditional hash brown formula? Because the world is going to open up, and as I talk to you and I begin to imagine the kinds of things that you can make, it's very exciting to imagine them hitting the frozen shelves soon.
We are always innovating. We like to say we're a company of never before dones. So we like to do things that have never been done before. I'm looking at my kitchen right over here, and yesterday that kitchen was filled with samples of things that we're working on and being tested, and because we've obviously had to, move things around in this era, but we are always innovating. We will probably have another product, I'm hoping, by the end of the year. So stay tuned.
What do you think about tater tots, Jennifer? Or maybe a cauliflower?
I know, right?
right? A little Holly Latkes for Pesach.
I know.
A Holly Latke, Gail. A Holly Latke, Gail.
I don't know. I'll keep it in mind. Wait. Let me grab a piece of pen.
You could mix that with scallions, right?
I'm
They
gonna
make the
write it down.
scallion pancakes.
Holly Latka.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm totally craving scallion pancakes today. I don't know if it's the Mercury retrograde shifting into our consciousness or the first day of summer coming up. But the one thing I want to talk about with regard to cauliflower is it's got such an extraordinarily brilliant, articulate flavor that it gets nutty. It really takes on lots of the best qualities of a potato in many respects in a much healthier form. And so I think that if you can begin to, even if you wanted to try playing around with it at home yourself, if nothing else, go and get a cauliflower and start messing around with it. There are chefs all over the world who are slicing whole entire heads of cauliflower into steaks and grilling it on a grill, marinating it, frying it, turning it into a cheese coated. Even right here in southern Arizona, Mike Hulquist is a remarkable young chef. And again, his family was in the produce business. So he loves vegetables, and he coats his steaks of cauliflower in cheese so that it's enrobed in that kind of Parmesan churro.
Oh, that's so interesting. Oh,
I mean, there are things that everyone's doing with these, and he makes a cauliflower taco that will knock you out.
Or you could just go out to dinner to the Palm and have a nice steak and don't worry about it. See what I'm saying, Gail? We were on the same. We can go to Dan Tana's next time I'm in town. You know what I mean? Maybe Craig's.
That one day.
We'll roll over to Craig's. He's got a nice new vegan ice cream. We're good.
We're good.
Our guest has been the founder and CEO of CAULIPOWER. We expect more great things to come as she transforms the freezer aisle. It has been such a pleasure and an honor to have her on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail. Show us some new products. Products when they come out.
Okay.
Make a promise.
Too much fun. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Too much fun meant she wanted to hang up quick. See what I'm saying? You were going on too long, I think, again. I don't know. I'm dying to taste her. I bet that woman can cook from Eastern Europe. What's this?
So the first day of summer is right around the corner, and the good folks at America's Test Kitchen will keep cool and stay inspired as you cook your way through the season. We're going to be talking about this soon, but I wanted to point this book out because it's remarkable, and it's got all those recipes, and they've got another book. We're going to talk about this in a couple of weeks. They've got another book, Foolproof Fish. If you've ever been apprehensive about adding any of these wonderful, healthy, sustainably produced ocean-wise seafoods to your menu, this is the time of year. It is too hot to cook.
By the way, we forgot to ask Gail if she does food service quantities and sizes for everybody in the restaurant business that wants to.
I think we need another reason to have Gail back on because I think she's awesome.
She's awesome, right?
She's awesome.
I think she is. She does.
I want to be her when
she does do food service, which means, let me tell you something. I've got all these pizza guys that always wanted to do cauliflower, right? And I'm like, I had this other lady that I knew that was doing it before I knew Gail, and they couldn't figure it out. But what a brilliant thing to have it in your restaurant. Everybody's going to want it.
Everybody's
it's crazy not to.
Everybody's
right? There's so many people that are going to want this. But more importantly, can I say something's more important than Gail? Because I don't think anything is. But more importantly, look what is sitting in Hoboken, New Jersey right now. Boxes and boxes and cases of Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success.
Michael, can you do something for me? Because, my birthday is on Tuesday next week.
It is?
My birthday's Tuesday.
What?
And there's this African tradition where on your birthday, you give a gift of something that means a lot to you, to the people that mean a lot to you.
Right.
So here's my ask. Can we do a giveaway right now to somebody in our audience? We're going to do a raffle.
Wait, I've got a whole concept. We're not giving my books away. They're $30 a piece. What's wrong with you?
I'm gonna give a book away to one of our viewers.
All right.
And we're gonna do a contest. Say something that you want to be entered in our drawing to win Michael's book, and you will literally be the first person to get a copy of this book.
You know what I did that was when I had the hamburger places, which was super successful? Now, I didn't want to tell this in front of Gail because I don't want to give her any more hints of the industry because she's already so successful, right? But I would say on social media, if you add and invite more people, right, tag people, the person that tags the most wins a free meal. You listening, Jen? The person that tags the most wins. I would have people with 50 people tagged, and I would give them all free meals. I wouldn't care. If somebody had 50 and someone had 49, you know what? You both come in because you just helped my business. We have lines out the door. That is my secret tip, and it's in the book. It's in the book. It's in the book. Now, my shipment of books hasn't come yet, Jennifer. Supposedly, tomorrow by 9 o'clock, I'm getting 45 books.
We have big plans, but I got to say, congratulations. This is a fantastic book.
Thank you. No, it's good. You wrote on the back of the book as an endorser. You're a big endorser, which I can't, who can go for wrong for that? Thank you for being the endorser.
I have to say, I'm overdue for a trip to Los Angeles, and I'm overdue for a trip to Las Vegas. And today's show just proved I miss Dinah's fried chicken. I miss all my favorite LA foods. I miss, oh my God, do I miss Felipe's Original?
Let's do this. Let's plan a trip to Los Angeles. Gail already popped off. We're going to hit up Gail and we'll meet her at the Grove, and we will go crazy.
We'll get our friend Evan Kleiman, the James Beard Award winner, formerly the owner of Angeli Cafe, one of the most.
Is he nice or is he a pain? Is he a snotty little food guy? I don't want any snotty. No snotty
She is one of the most amazing women in the food world, and you're going to love her.
Let's get Barbara to come too. Barbara Fairchild.
One of us. She's one of us.
Let's get Barbara to get down and dirty at the Grove. It'll be fun. The Farmers, original Farmers.
And my friend Darlene Dwyer, she's out in Los Angeles now. We're going to find her. We're going to rope her back in. All of our friends.
We'll have a great. You know what? Let's come up with a concept where everybody serves us, and we have a big tasting. And it'll be a big giant tasting down there once everything clears up.
How do you go to LA and not have a tasting? But you know
what? We will have a competition at the farmers market at the Grove, and they'll present us their best meals, and they will win. And what will they win? The winner will receive the cover editorial feature in Food and Beverage magazine.
No. Jennifer, you're not getting the cover. Are you really?
Oh, the cover. And we just created that concept. So you, Jennifer, can helm that big.
Wow. That'll be fun.
Yes.
Who doesn't want to be on the cover of Food and Beverage magazine?
Me.
That's true. Listen, I want to start something today because
let's just say goodbye, Jen. Let's say goodbye. We're an hour in.
I want to say goodbye, but I want to say goodbye, and I want to, you know how Carol Burnett at the end of every show, she said, "I love you" to her grandmother by tugging on her ear. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say I love you to my little boy with something, and I was trying to come up with something that would be like Carol Burnett's, tug on your ear. And so I want to.
I came up with something for you. What did you come up with?
I don't know. Tell me what you came up with.
Oh, I think you should tap your glasses.
Well, I don't always wear glasses, but.
Well, maybe you will.
Anyway, I want him to know I love you forever.
Okay, he knows that. So tap. That's a tap.
But I want him to.
All right. Well, Jennifer, thank you. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Got your blessings. Thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh,
thank
you. Do you know who's on with us tomorrow?
Who?
Bartholomew Broadbent. Is that the greatest name you've ever heard? Bartholomew Broadbent.
Let's keep it a secret. We'll talk to you tomorrow.